You're telling me that thing is the most feared vessel in the 7th quadrant? Admiral Zex Taral's 4 eyes narrowed to slits as he peered through the view screen. It looks like someone welded a garbage scow to a mining platform and called it a day. Lieutenant Krivosh fidgeted with her datapad, clicking nervously. Sir, I know it doesn't look like much, but intelligence confirms it's the UES Audacity, flagship of the human fleet. The Admiral's scales rippled in what passed for Halaxian laughter. I've seen pleasure yachts with more intimidating profiles. Are we certain this isn't some elaborate prank? The bridge fell silent as the officers studied the approaching vessel. By any reasonable standard of galactic shipbuilding, the human craft was an abomination, where Halaxian warships were sleek, symmetrical works of art, their gleaming hulls adorned with ceremonial engravings detailing the crew's lineage and battle honors. This human ship was, well, practical would be the kindest description. Its hull was a patchwork of mismatched metals, with visible welding seams that would make any self-respecting Halaxian engineer commit ritual suicide. Sensor arrays jutted out at seemingly random angles. The propulsion system appeared to have been designed by 3 different species who refused to communicate with each other. Sir, Captain Drelvor interrupted. Despite appearances, the Audacity has destroyed 7 Halaxian cruisers, 4 Zentari dreadnoughts, and the supposedly impregnable Polarian defense station, all within the last solar cycle. Propaganda. Admiral Zex Taral waved a clawed hand dismissively. The primitive apes are trying to intimidate us with wild stories. Respectfully, sir, we have confirmation footage. The Admiral's crest flattened against his skull, a sign of irritation among his kind. Fine, show me. The main view screen flickered, displaying battle footage that made the Admiral's blood run cold. The ugly human ship moved like nothing he'd ever seen, breaking every rule of space combat that had governed galactic warfare for millennia. It didn't maintain formation. It didn't follow traditional attack vectors. It just charged. By the Emperor's sacred eggs, he whispered, as he watched the human vessel ram straight through a Zentari shield wall that should have atomized anything that touched it. How is that possible? Lieutenant Krivosh cleared her throat. Our analysts believe they've installed some kind of modified deflector technology on their bow. But sir, that's not even the concerning part. The footage continued, showing the human ship taking hit after hit from Polarian plasma cannons. Weapons that could vaporize small moons. The Audacity just kept coming, its mismatched hull plates glowing red from the assault. Those aren't even proper armor plates, the Admiral muttered in disbelief. They're using... is that scaffolding? Yes, sir, Captain Drelvor confirmed. Apparently, they've layered standard construction materials in a pattern that disperses energy weapons. It's crude but effective. Effective? It's insane! The Admiral's voice rose an octave. No species designs warships this way. Humans do, sir. Aboard the UES Audacity, Captain Finn Reeves slouched in his command chair, one leg draped over the armrest in blatant violation of every military posture regulation ever written. His uniform jacket hung open, revealing a t-shirt with the faded logo of a pre-unification rock band. They're still just sitting there, he remarked, taking a sip from his coffee mug. Think they're impressed with our shiny new additions? Commander Alexis Lee snorted from her tactical station. We don't have a paint job, sir. Engineering just welded on the armor plates from that derelict Juraxian freighter we salvaged last month. Exactly, Finn grinned. Looks impressive as hell, doesn't it? The bridge crew exchanged knowing glances. Their captain's definition of impressive had always been questionable at best. Sir, Communications Officer Dale Richards spoke up. We're receiving a transmission from the Halaxian flagship. On screen, Finn ordered, straightening slightly but not bothering to button his jacket. Let's see what the lizard people want. The view screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Admiral Zex Taral. His ceremonial armor gleamed with precious metals. An elaborate head crest signified his noble bloodline going back countless generations. Human vessel, the Admiral began, his translator struggling to convey the appropriate level of condescension. You have violated sovereign Halaxian space. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded or face immediate destruction. Finn took another slow sip of coffee, deliberately making the Halaxian wait. Admiral, Zex Taral was it? Cool name. Very intimidating. Look, there seems to be a misunderstanding. According to the Galactic Concordat, Article 7, Subsection 12, which your Empire signed, by the way, this is neutral space. This region has been claimed by the Halaxian Empire for... Yeah, for time immemorial. I know the speech. Finn interrupted, examining his fingernails. But you can't just stick your flag on something and call it yours. Well, I mean, humans used to do that too. But we eventually figured out it was kind of a dick move. The Admiral's scales darkened with rage. You dare to lecture me on galactic law? The Halaxian Empire was exploring the stars while your ancestors were still figuring out how to make fire. And yet somehow we're the ones with the better coffee, Finn replied, raising his mug in a mock toast. Look, we're just passing through. We've got some humanitarian supplies to deliver to the Novan colony. Let us through and we'll be on our merry way. The Novans are under Halaxian protection. They require nothing from humans. Finn's easy smile didn't waver, but something hardened in his eyes. Funny thing about that, we got a distress call saying your protection includes taking 90% of their harvest and leaving them to starve. Not very neighborly. The Admiral's face contorted with fury. The internal affairs of Halaxian protectorates are none of your concern. You will withdraw immediately or what? Finn leaned forward, his casual demeanor evaporating. You'll add us to the list of ships you've threatened this month? That's a pretty long list, Admiral. The Galactic Council's getting pretty tired of it, to be honest. The Council has no authority over... Yeah, I'm gonna stop you right there. Finn cut in. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to let us pass. We're going to deliver these supplies, and then we're going to have a nice chat about your Empire's definition of protection. Or... He let the word hang in the air. Admiral Zextaral's crest rose in challenge. Or what, human? Finn's smile returned, but it didn't reach his eyes. Or we do this the hard way. Your choice. The transmission cut off abruptly. That went well, Commander Lee remarked dryly. Finn shrugged. About as expected. Options? We could try to outrun them, Tactical Officer Walsh suggested. The new engine modifications should give us enough speed. We could also try to reason with them, proposed Lieutenant Commander Raj, the ship's diplomat. Halaxians respond to displays of strength, but also to appeals to honor. Or, Engineer Garcia chimed in from her station, we could use that prototype device we found in the asteroid belt last month. Finn perked up. The phase inverter? It's a prototype dimensional displacement unit, Garcia corrected. And yes, the unusual alien technology. Will it work? Garcia shrugged. Maybe. Physics says it shouldn't, but human physics and alien physics seem to disagree sometimes. Worth a shot. That's the spirit. Finn clapped his hands together. Let's try the prototype device. Admiral Zextaral was seething. The sheer audacity, no, the audacity of these humans was beyond comprehension. They showed no proper respect, no understanding of galactic protocols that had been established for millennia. Target their propulsion systems, he ordered. I want that ship disabled, not destroyed. The Emperor will want to study their technology. Sir, the weapons officer replied, they appear to be doing something. The Admiral turned to the view screen. The human ship was indeed doing something, though what exactly was anyone's guess. A strange device had extended from its hull, a spinning array of interconnected rings that pulsed with an eerie blue light. What in the name of the sacred ancestors is that? The Admiral demanded. Unknown, sir. Our sensors can't identify the technology. Is it a weapon? Uncertain, sir. It's emitting some kind of... The officer never finished his sentence. A wave of blue energy erupted from the human ship, washing over the Halaxian fleet. Alarms blared as systems throughout the flagship began to shut down. Report, the Admiral barked. All weapons offline. Shields failing. Engineering reports the power core is... Sir, they say it's singing. Singing? What does that even mean? Before anyone could answer, the ship's communication system activated on its own. Music, loud rhythmic human music, blasted through every speaker on the ship. Another one bites the dust, proclaimed a human voice, followed by a distinctive bass line that seemed to vibrate through the very hull of the ship. The Admiral's hands flew to the auditory openings on either side of his head. Make it stop! We can't, sir! We've lost control of all systems! On the view screen, the Admiral watched in horror as the human ship casually drifted past his immobilized fleet, occasionally spinning to avoid colliding with the now helpless Halaxian vessels. They're waving at us, sir, Lieutenant Krivosh reported in disbelief. Indeed, on the external cameras, they could see several humans pressed against the viewports of their ship, making exaggerated waving gestures in what appeared to be crude Halaxian salutes. The Emperor will have my head for this, the Admiral muttered. I can't believe that actually worked, Commander Lee said, shaking her head as the Audacity cruised past the frozen Halaxian fleet. Finn grinned like a child who'd just gotten away with stealing cookies. Garcia, remind me to put you in for a commendation. That prototype device is officially my new favorite weapon. It's not technically a weapon, Garcia pointed out. It's more like, well, I don't actually know what it is. The aliens who built it probably used it as a doorstop or something. Whatever it is, it just took out 15 warships without firing a shot, Finn replied. And it has the added bonus of forcing them to listen to classic rock. If that doesn't embody humanity's approach to space combat, I don't know what does. Dale Richards looked up from his communications console. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Nova Colony. They're throwing a party in our honor. Apparently, the Halaxians have been making their lives miserable for years. A party, huh? Finn rubbed his hands together. Tell them we accept. But first, let's deliver these supplies. And someone find out how long our device will keep the lizard fleet incapacitated. I'd prefer not to have them crash our party. As the Audacity approached the small colony planet, Finn couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. The ship might be ugly as sin, a cobbled-together collection of salvaged parts and improvised solutions, but it got the job done. Just like humanity itself. You know, he mused to no one in particular. I bet those Halaxian ships cost a fortune to build. All that ceremonial plating, the artistic engravings, the color-coordinated plasma conduits. Whereas we built the Audacity for roughly the price of a medium-sized shopping mall, Lee added. Exactly, efficiency, Finn declared, as if that explained everything. Now let's go help some colonists, and then teach them how to dance to Queen. The Nova Colony was a small settlement on a planet that most species would consider barely habitable. High gravity, thin atmosphere, and temperature fluctuations that could give even the hardiest life forms whiplash. But for humans, and the hardy Novan settlers who'd evolved in similar conditions, it was just another Tuesday. As the Audacity landed on the makeshift spaceport, which was really just a flattened field with some landing lights, Finn could see hundreds of colonists gathering to welcome them. The Novans were humanoid, though shorter and stockier, adapted to their high-gravity world. Their skin had a bluish tint that made them look perpetually cold, but their smiles were warm enough. Remember, Finn addressed his landing party, we're here as guests, not saviors. These people have survived Halaxian oppression for decades. They don't need us to solve all their problems. They just need some breathing room and supplies to solve them themselves. The crew nodded. It was a speech they'd heard before, on countless worlds across the galaxy. Humanity's unofficial policy, help where you can but don't take over. As they disembarked, a delegation of Novan elders approached. Their leader, a female with intricate facial markings denoting her status, stepped forward. Captain Reeves, she greeted him, her translator converting her complex tonal language into standard English. I am Elder Zevi. Your reputation precedes you. Finn bowed slightly. All good things, I hope? That depends, she replied with a hint of humor. The Halaxians call you the barbarian who flies in a salvage heap. One of my better reviews, actually. Elder Zevi laughed, a musical sound that seemed to ripple through her entire body. We've prepared a feast to welcome you and your crew. But first, we would be honored if you would show us this ship that has the mighty Halaxian Empire so frightened. Finn hesitated. The Audacity wasn't exactly a showpiece. Most of its systems were held together with improvised repairs and what his engineer affectionately called mechanical optimism. But refusing would be impolite. We'd be happy to give you a tour, he agreed. Though I should warn you, it's not what most species would consider elegant. Captain, Elder Zivi said with a knowing smile, we Novans have survived on this world by valuing function over form. I believe we will appreciate your ship more than you might expect. The tour went better than Finn had anticipated. Rather than being horrified by the Audacity's haphazard construction, the Novan elders were fascinated. They asked detailed questions about the ship's unconventional modifications and nodded appreciatively at the crew's innovative solutions to complex problems. This cooling system, one elder remarked, examining the engine room's jury-rigged thermal regulators. It uses the waste heat to power the life support? Engineer Garcia nodded proudly. We couldn't afford the standard model, so we built our own. It's actually 15% more efficient, though it does make a weird humming noise when we hit light speed. Remarkable, the elder murmured. The Halaxians would never consider such an approach. Their engineering principles haven't changed in 5,000 years. That's the problem with perfection, Finn commented. Once you think you've achieved it, you stop trying to improve. Elder Zevi gave him a shrewd look. An interesting philosophy from a species that the Galactic Council classified as barely spaceworthy just 15 years ago. Finn shrugged. We're fast learners, and we don't mind looking foolish while we figure things out. A rare quality in the galaxy, she noted. Most species would rather die with dignity than live with embarrassment. Well, Finn replied with a grin, humans have never been big on dignity. The feast was in full swing by the time night fell on Nova Colony. The settlers had prepared local delicacies, supplemented by the supplies from the Audacity. Music played, a strange but pleasant fusion of Novan harmonics and human melodies that the crew had shared. Finn found himself seated beside Elder Zevi at the head table, watching as humans and Novans mingled, exchanged stories, and even attempted to learn each other's dances. "Your people adapt quickly," Zevi observed. "Most visitors find our gravity uncomfortable." "We're pretty good at adjusting," Finn agreed, trying not to show how much effort it took to lift his drinking vessel in the enhanced gravity. "Though I might regret all this food tomorrow when we're loading cargo." Zevi's expression grew serious. "About that, the supplies you've brought are generous, but they only solve our immediate needs. The Halaxians will return, and when they do, they'll be angry." Finn nodded. He'd been expecting this conversation. "We can't stay permanently. The Audacity has other missions, other worlds that need help." "I understand, but perhaps there's another solution." She leaned closer. "Your dimensional device. Could you teach us to build one?" Finn choked on his drink. "The phase inverter? I'm not sure we know how to build one. We found it in a derelict alien ship." "But you figured out how to use it," she pressed. "Your people have a gift for making things work, even when you don't fully understand them." "It's not that simple," Finn hedged. "The technology is unpredictable. We got lucky today." "Luck," Zevi repeated. "Another concept the Halaxians don't believe in. They think everything in the universe follows predictable patterns. That's why they fear humans so much. You defy their patterns." Before Finn could respond, a commotion at the edge of the gathering caught their attention. Commander Lee was rushing toward them, her expression grim. "Captain," she said breathlessly, "we've got a problem. The phase inverter's effects are wearing off much faster than we anticipated. The Halaxian fleet is already regaining power. Estimated time until they're fully operational, 3 hours." Finn's good mood evaporated. "So much for our party. How soon can we get the Audacity back in the air?" "That's the other problem, sir. Garcia says the phase inverter needs time to recharge. If we try to use it again too soon, it might— well, she used a lot of technical terms, but I think explode catastrophically was the gist." "Perfect," Finn muttered. He turned to Elder Zevi. "I'm sorry, but we need to cut this short. If the Halaxians catch us on the ground, they will destroy your ship and then punish our colony for accepting your aid." Zevi finished for him. "But if you leave now, they will still punish us." Finn ran a hand through his hair, mind racing. There has to be another option. "Perhaps there is," Zevi said slowly. "Our ancestors left us certain technologies, things the Halaxians don't know about. We've never used them because we lacked the power source. But with your ship's engines—" "What kind of technologies are we talking about?" Zevi's eyes gleamed in the firelight. "Come with me, Captain. It's time you learned why the Halaxians were so determined to control our little colony." Deep beneath the main settlement, accessed through tunnels that showed signs of being far older than the colony itself, Elder Zevi led Finn and a small team from the Audacity into what could only be described as an ancient control room. "Holy shit," Engineer Garcia whispered, her eyes wide as she took in the curved walls covered in luminescent symbols and the central platform that seemed to float without any visible means of support. "This isn't Novan technology." "No," Zevi agreed. "This was built by those who came before us. The predecessors, we call them. They chose this world for its unique properties. Properties the Halaxians covet but cannot access." Finn approached the floating platform cautiously. "And what properties would those be?" "This planet sits at the intersection of what your scientists might call dimensional fault lines. With the right equipment, one can manipulate certain aspects of reality." "That sounds both awesome and terrifying," Finn remarked. "What exactly does manipulate reality mean in practical terms?" Zevi gestured to the platform. "Perhaps it would be easier to show you, your engineer. She carries a power cell, yes?" Garcia nodded, unslinging a portable fusion pack from her shoulder. "Standard issue. It can power most of our equipment in an emergency. Place it there." Zevi indicated a depression in the floating platform. Garcia looked to Finn, who nodded after a moment's hesitation. She carefully set the power cell into the indicated spot. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a hum that seemed to resonate in their bones rather than their ears, the entire chamber came to life. Symbols along the walls brightened. The platform began to rotate slowly. A holographic display, far more advanced than anything humans or even Halaxians possessed, materialized above the platform. "Okay, that's impressive," Finn admitted. "But what does it do?" "It allows us to create a localized distortion field," Zevi explained, manipulating the holographic controls with practiced ease. "A bubble, if you will, where certain physical laws become flexible." "Flexible how?" Commander Lee asked, her tactical mind already spinning with possibilities. Within the field, we can adjust gravitational constants, alter the passage of time, even modify the properties of matter itself, to a limited extent. Zivi's fingers danced across the controls. For example, she made a final adjustment, and a small sphere of energy formed above the platform. Inside it, they could see what appeared to be a miniature representation of the space above Nova Colony, including the Halaxian fleet, now drifting back to life as the effects of the phase inverter wore off. "Is that a real-time tactical display?" Lee asked, impressed. "More than that," Zivi replied. "Watch." She touched another control, and the representation of Nova Colony in the sphere began to shimmer and fade, becoming increasingly transparent until it vanished completely. "You can make the planet invisible," Finn guessed. "Not exactly. We can shift it slightly out of phase with normal space-time. To the Halaxians, it will appear that the planet has vanished, along with your ship and our colony." Finn whistled. "That's one hell of a cloaking device." "It's not without limitations," Zivi cautioned. "The effect only lasts for approximately 12 of your hours before the power requirements become too great. And while in this state, we cannot communicate with or receive communication from the outside universe." "So we hide for 12 hours, then what?" Lee asked. "The Halaxians will still be there when we phase back." "Not necessarily," Zivi said with a smile that could only be described as mischievous. "The phase shift has certain side effects on nearby space. When we return to normal space-time, the resulting gravitational wave will push any ships in orbit approximately 2 light days away." Finn blinked. "You can just forcibly relocate an entire battle fleet across space?" "Forcibly relocate?" Zivi's translator seemed to struggle with the concept. "Sorry, human slang. It means to move something or someone against their will." "Ah, then yes, we can forcibly relocate them quite effectively." Finn exchanged looks with his crew. "Why haven't you used this before to get rid of the Halaxians?" Zivi's expression grew somber. "As I said, the power requirements are extreme. Your portable cell can power one shift, but it will be completely drained. We've never had enough power to activate the system." "Until now," Garcia interjected, excitement building in her voice. "The Audacity's main reactor could power this thing for—" She did some quick mental calculations. "Maybe 50 phase shifts before needing to refuel." 50 times to relocate the Halaxians when they get annoying?" Finn grinned. "I like those odds." "There's more," Zivi said. "With sufficient power, we could establish a permanent connection between the phase control system and your ship. You could take this technology with you." The implications hit Finn like a thunderbolt. A ship that could phase out of reality when threatened, then reappear elsewhere, sending enemy fleets flying in the process? It would revolutionize human space travel and human defense. "What's the catch?" he asked, because there was always a catch. Zivi hesitated. "The predecessors left warnings. This technology was not meant to be used lightly. Each phase shift creates ripples in space-time. Too many shifts in too short a period could potentially cause instabilities." "Define instabilities," Commander Lee requested. "The predecessors were not specific, but their warnings mentioned tears in the fabric of reality, and the awakening of those who sleep between dimensions." A heavy silence fell over the group. "Well," Finn said finally, "that sounds ominous as hell. But right now we've got a more immediate problem. A Halaxian fleet that's about to rain fire on this colony because we pissed them off." He made a decision. "We'll use the phase shift once, to protect the colony and get the Audacity safely away. After that, we can discuss the possibility of a more permanent arrangement, with all the proper precautions and probably a ton of scientific research." Zivi nodded, seeming relieved. "A wise choice, Captain. Shall we proceed?" "One question first," Finn said. "This phase shift, will it feel weird?" "Because I just ate a lot of food at that feast, and I have a sensitive stomach." As it turned out, the phase shift did feel weird, like being dunked in ice water while simultaneously having every atom in your body tickled. But it worked. The entire planet, along with the Audacity and everyone on it, shifted slightly out of sync with normal spacetime. Through the monitoring sphere in the ancient control room, they watched as the Halaxian fleet regained full power and began scanning for the colony, only to find empty space where a planet should be. The confusion on the Halaxian bridge was palpable, even through the limited audio they could pick up. Admiral Zex Terral was throwing what could only be described as a tantrum of cosmic proportions, threatening to demote his entire sensor crew if they didn't find the missing planet immediately. "I almost feel bad for them," Finn remarked as they watched the Admiral turn progressively darker shades of purple with rage. Almost. They'll assume we used our phase inverter again, Garcia suggested. Which is fine by me. Let them waste resources trying to counter a technology they don't understand, while we're actually using something completely different. The classic human approach, Lee said with a smirk. Why use one incomprehensible alien technology when you can use two? For the next 10 hours, they remained in the phase-shifted state, using the time to complete the delivery of supplies to the colony and make some minor repairs to the Audacity. Finn also engaged in lengthy discussions with the Novan Council about a potential alliance with Earth. The Halaxians will return eventually, he told them. Even if we relocate them 2 light days away, they'll just come back with a bigger fleet. We're aware, Elder Zevi replied. But now we have options we didn't have before, and perhaps more importantly, we have a friend in humanity. Not just a friend, Finn corrected. A partner. Your phase technology combined with our, let's call it creative engineering approach, could change the balance of power in this sector. The Galactic Council might not approve, another elder cautioned. They have strict regulations about sharing advanced technology between species. Finn waved a dismissive hand. The Council is dominated by species that have had spaceflight for thousands of years. They make rules that benefit the established powers. We're new kids on the block. We need to stick together. As the 12-hour mark approached, they returned to the control room to prepare for the return to normal space-time. Everyone ready for the big relocation? Finn asked, earning confused looks from the Novans and eye rolls from his own crew. All systems prepared, Captain, Garcia confirmed. I've integrated our sensors with the phase control system so we can track exactly where the Halaxian fleet ends up. Excellent. Elder Zevi, whenever you're ready. Zevi nodded and began the sequence to return them to normal space. The transition may be disorienting, she warned. More disorienting than the shift in? Finn asked. Significantly. Great, he muttered. Everyone grab onto something and try not to throw up on my ship. The return to normal space was indeed more intense than the departure. Finn felt like his body was being turned inside out, run through a blender, then reassembled by a committee that had only a vague idea of human anatomy. Judging by the groans around him, the rest of his crew felt similarly. But when the sensation passed and they checked the sensors, the results were undeniable. The Halaxian fleet had been catapulted exactly 2.1 light days away, far enough that by the time they regrouped and returned, the Audacity would be long gone, and the Nova colony would have plenty of time to prepare. It worked perfectly, Garcia reported, studying the readings with obvious glee. And the energy wave completely fried their long-range communications. They can't even call for backup. Admiral Zex Taral is going to be filling out paperwork for months to explain this, Lee added with satisfaction. The Halaxian Empire doesn't tolerate failure. Finn turned to Elder Zevi. Thank you. You've saved your colony and my ship. And you brought us hope, she replied. For the first time in generations, we can envision a future free from Halaxian oppression. About that future, Finn said, lowering his voice so only she could hear. The phase technology. I wasn't kidding about a partnership. Humanity could help you develop it safely, keep those dimensional instabilities in check. Zevi studied him for a long moment. You're proposing an alliance outside Galactic Council oversight. I'm proposing a friendship between two species that understand what it means to make do with what you have. To improvise, adapt, and overcome. The Council won't approve. The Council doesn't need to know everything, Finn countered. Besides, by their own rules, pre-spaceflight civilizations are protected from interference. The Halaxians have been violating that rule for decades. We are hardly pre-spaceflight anymore, Zevi pointed out. On paper you are. Your official status was set centuries ago and never updated. A convenient oversight that the Halaxians exploited, and one we can use to our advantage. Zevi's expression was unreadable for a moment before breaking into a smile. You humans truly are a strange species. You break rules while quoting them. You build starships that shouldn't fly, and you challenge empires that have existed for millennia. Is that a yes to my proposal? It's a recognition that perhaps the galaxy needs more of your particular brand of chaos, she replied. Yes, Captain Reeves. We would be honored to form a partnership with humanity. 3 weeks later, aboard the Halaxian Imperial flagship Eternal Glory, Admiral Zex Taral stood before a holographic projection of Emperor Drex Karal himself. The Admiral's scales had lost their luster, and his ceremonial armor hung slightly loose on his frame. He'd been too stressed to eat properly since the Nova colony incident. Let me understand this correctly, Admiral, the Emperor said, his voice deceptively soft. You lost an entire battle group, failed to subjugate a minor colony world, and allowed a single human vessel to make a mockery of the Imperial fleet. Your Radiance, the humans possess technology beyond anything we've encountered, the Admiral protested. They made an entire planet disappear. An entire planet, the Emperor repeated flatly. How convenient that there were no witnesses besides your own crew. The sensor logs have been analyzed by Imperial scientists who tell me that such a feat is impossible. The Emperor cut him off. They suggest your sensors were malfunctioning, or perhaps tampered with by the humans. The Admiral's crest flattened in distress. But I saw it with my own eyes. One moment the planet was there, the next it wasn't. And then when it reappeared, the gravitational wave— Enough! The Emperor's patience was clearly wearing thin. I did not achieve dominion over 16 star systems by believing in fairy tales, Admiral. There is a rational explanation for what occurred, and you will find it. Yes, Your Radiance, the Admiral replied miserably. Furthermore, the Emperor continued, I'm dispatching High Inquisitor Kresvor to investigate this human vessel. He will determine if there is any truth to your fantastical claims. The Admiral suppressed a shudder. The High Inquisitor was notorious throughout the Empire for his ruthless methods and uncompromising dedication to the Emperor's will. If he couldn't provide proof of what had happened— Your Radiance is most wise, the Admiral managed to say. When can we expect the High Inquisitor's arrival? He's already on his way, the Emperor replied with malicious satisfaction. In fact, his ship should be docking with yours within the hour. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Zextaral alone with his dread. He had little time to prepare, and even less evidence that would satisfy someone like Kresvor. The logs had been analyzed and dismissed as corrupted. The crew's testimonies were being written off as mass hallucination or cowardice. He needed something concrete, something undeniable. An idea struck him suddenly, desperate, potentially treasonous, but possibly his only hope of survival. Lieutenant Kravosh, he called, activating his personal communicator. Meet me in my private quarters immediately. Tell no one. Back on Earth, Captain Finn Reeves found himself in an unusual position, wearing a proper uniform with all the buttons fastened. The officers' club at Starfleet headquarters wasn't his usual haunt, but the occasion warranted a bit of formality. I still can't believe they gave you a commendation instead of a court-martial, Commander Lee remarked, sipping her drink across the table. Unauthorized first contact, unsanctioned technology exchange, violations of at least 7 Council protocols. And one very impressed Admiral Harker, Finn countered with a grin. The brass loves results, Alexis, and we delivered one hell of a result. A new ally with game-changing technology. Still, the Council representatives were furious. The Council representatives are always furious about something. Finn shrugged. Besides, they can't prove anything. Officially, we delivered humanitarian aid to a registered colony and departed without incident. And unofficially? Unofficially, our engineers are already working with Novan scientists to understand and safely implement phase shift technology. In another 6 months, we might have a prototype ready for testing. Lee shook her head in amazement. You know, when they assigned me to the Audacity, I thought it was a punishment detail. The ship cobbled together from salvage and determination was how my previous CO described it. And now? Now I'm starting to think that's humanity's secret weapon. We don't build perfect ships. We build ships that can adapt, that can incorporate whatever weird alien tech we stumble across. The Halaxians would never strap a prototype device they barely understood to their pristine warships. Their loss, Finn replied, raising his glass, to imperfection, humanity's greatest strength. They clinked glasses, but their toast was interrupted by the arrival of a serious-looking officer in an intelligence division uniform. Captain Reeves? The newcomer asked, though it was clearly a formality. Everyone in Starfleet knew who Finn was after the Nova incident. That's me. What can I do for you, Commander? Bishop, Intelligence Division. The officer glanced meaningfully around the crowded club. Is there somewhere more private we could talk? Finn exchanged a look with Lee. My XO stays with me. Whatever you have to say, she can hear it. Commander Bishop hesitated, then nodded curtly. Very well. Follow me, please. He led them to a secure conference room several floors up. Once the door sealed behind them, Bishop activated a privacy field that would prevent any electronic eavesdropping. 12 hours ago, we intercepted a coded transmission from a Halaxian vessel. He began without preamble. It took some time to decrypt, but what we found was unexpected. He placed a datapad on the table. On it was a message in Halaxian script, with an English translation beneath. To any human vessel or authority. I am Admiral Zex Taral of the Halaxian Imperial Fleet. I request immediate extraction and offer critical intelligence on Imperial operations in exchange for asylum. The High Inquisitor comes for me. You have 48 of your hours to respond before I am taken back to the Imperial capital for execution. Coordinates and authentication codes enclosed. Finn whistled. Well, that's not something you see every day. A Halaxian admiral defecting? The same admiral whose fleet you encountered at Nova Colony, Bishop pointed out. Intelligence believes this may be a trap. Of course it's a trap, Finn agreed easily. The question is, who set it? The Halaxian Empire trying to lure us in, or a desperate admiral actually trying to defect? Either way, Command wants you to handle it. Me? Why not send a proper diplomatic vessel, or an intelligence ship? Bishop's expression remained carefully neutral. Because if it is the admiral from Nova Colony, you're the only human he's had contact with. And if it's a trap, well, the Audacity has developed quite a reputation for getting out of impossible situations. In other words, Lee translated, if everything goes sideways, we're expendable. I wouldn't put it that way, Commander. But you're not denying it, Finn noted. He studied the message again. These coordinates, they're in the Viridian Nebula, neutral territory, but notorious for sensor interference and pirate activity, which makes it perfect for a clandestine meeting or an ambush, Bishop agreed. Your orders are to investigate, determine if the Admiral is genuinely seeking defection, and if so, extract him. If it's a trap, you are to withdraw immediately and report back. And if we can't withdraw? Bishop's smile was thin. Then I suggest you use some of that famous human ingenuity, Captain. The Audacity is being resupplied as we speak. You depart in 6 hours. After Bishop left, Lee turned to Finn. So, we're being sent into an obvious trap to rescue an alien who was trying to kill us a month ago. Pretty much. And your thoughts on this mission are? Finn's expression was thoughtful. If Zex Taral is actually defecting, he could provide invaluable intelligence on Halaxian military capabilities. And if it's a trap, a slow grin spread across his face. Well, I've been wanting to test some modifications Garcia made to our shields. Of course you have, Lee sighed. I'll inform the crew. The Viridian Nebula lived up to its reputation. Swirls of ionized gas in vibrant greens and purples obscured the Audacity's sensors, reducing their effective range by nearly 70%. Navigation was a nightmare, with gravitational eddies and radiation pockets forcing them to proceed at a crawl. Remind me again why anyone would choose this place for a meeting? Tactical Officer Walsh grumbled as he tried to make sense of the conflicting sensor readings. Because it's beautiful? Finn suggested, gesturing to the spectacular view on the main screen. Or because anyone trying to follow us would have just as much trouble as we're having. We're approaching the coordinates, Lee reported from her station. No sign of any Halaxian vessels, though that doesn't mean much in this soup. All stop, Finn ordered. Let's take a moment to admire the scenery while we wait for our potential defector. The ship hung motionless amidst the swirling nebula, its systems humming quietly as the crew maintained alert status. Minutes stretched into an hour with no sign of the Halaxians. Could we have missed them? Walsh wondered. Or maybe they came and left when we weren't here yet. Possible, Finn admitted. But Halaxians are sticklers for precision. If the Admiral said he'd be here, Energy signature, Lee interrupted. Bearing 047 Mark 22. It just appeared out of nowhere. Halaxian? Finn asked, immediately alert. Confirmed. Small vessel, likely a shuttle or scout craft. Minimal weapons. Hail them. A moment later, the view screen flickered to show a familiar face. Admiral Zex Taral, though looking considerably more haggard than during their last encounter. His ceremonial armor was gone, replaced by a simple flight suit. Captain Reeves, the Admiral said, his translator giving his voice an odd flat quality. You came. You sent a very interesting invitation, Finn replied carefully. Hard to resist. Though I have to ask, is this a social call, or are we about to be ambushed by another Halaxian battle group? No ambush, Zex Taral assured him. I came alone. The High Inquisitor believes I am conducting a personal meditation retreat in preparation for my interrogation, and you're really seeking asylum from us, the primitive apes in our salvage heap? The Admiral's scales darkened in what might have been embarrassment. Circumstances have changed. The Emperor does not believe my account of our encounter. I am to be executed for incompetence and cowardice, unless I can provide proof of the human technology that defeated us. Ah, Finn nodded in understanding. So this is less about defecting and more about saving your own scales. I will not deny self-preservation is a factor, the Admiral admitted. But I also bring valuable information. The Empire is not what I once believed it to be. Finn glanced at Lee, who gave a subtle nod. Their pre-mission briefing had mentioned rumors of internal strife within the Halaxian leadership. I'm listening? Not like this, Zex Taral insisted. Allow me to dock with your vessel. I will surrender myself and my shuttle to your custody, as a show of good faith. It was a reasonable request, but still potentially dangerous. Finn muted the transmission and turned to his officers. Thoughts? Could be a suicide bomber, Walsh suggested grimly. Halaxians don't do suicide missions, Lee countered. Their cultural beliefs about proper death rituals are too strong. He could have a tracking device, Communications Officer Richards offered, leading the Halaxian fleet right to us. In this nebula, a tracking signal would be as muddled as our own sensors, Engineer Garcia pointed out. And we can scan his shuttle thoroughly before allowing him aboard. Finn considered all this, then nodded. We'll let him dock, but with maximum security protocols. Walsh, have a security team ready. Garcia, prepare for a complete system sweep of his shuttle. He reactivated the transmission. Admiral, you may dock with us, but be advised, any suspicious activity and we'll jettison your shuttle faster than you can say, the Emperor's sacred eggs. If the Admiral was offended by the reference to his earlier profanity, he didn't show it. Understood, Captain. Transmitting approach vector now. The docking procedure went smoothly, surprisingly so, given the interference from the nebula. Admiral Zex Taral submitted to a thorough security scan without complaint, even seeming impressed by the human security protocols. Your caution is commendable, he remarked as they escorted him to a secure conference room. Most species would not be so thorough. Most species haven't had as many unpleasant surprises as humans have, Finn replied. We've learned to be careful. Once they were sealed in the conference room, with the Admiral's translator device carefully examined and cleared by Garcia, Finn got straight to the point. So, Admiral, what's this valuable information you're offering in exchange for asylum? Zex Taral's posture shifted subtly, taking on what Finn recognized as the Halaxian equivalent of extreme formality. The Halaxian Empire is preparing for war, not just against minor colonies like Nova, but against all non-aligned worlds in this sector, and eventually, against Earth itself. Finn kept his expression neutral, though the news was disturbing. The Empire has always been expansionist. What's changed? The scale. The Emperor has commissioned a new class of warship, the World Breaker. As the name suggests, it is designed to destroy entire planets. That's ambitious, Finn remarked, though internally he was calculating how quickly they needed to get this information back to Earth, and probably a violation of about a dozen Galactic Council treaties. The Emperor no longer recognizes Council authority, Zex Taral continued. He believes the ancient species that dominate the Council have held the younger races back for too long. And after your demonstration at Nova Colony, he has become obsessed with human technology. Our technology? Finn couldn't help but laugh. Our ships are cobbled together from salvage and determination. Yet you made a planet disappear, the Admiral countered. Whether through your phase inverter or some other means, you demonstrated power that even the oldest Council races don't possess. Finn chose his words carefully. Let's say, hypothetically, that we do have such technology. Why would that drive the Emperor to build planet killers? Because he fears you will share it with other emerging species. The balance of power that has existed for millennia would collapse. And he'd rather destroy worlds than adapt to a new reality. The Emperor believes that power must be controlled by those who understand its proper use. The Halaxian Empire has maintained strict hierarchies and traditions for over 10,000 years. Species like humans, who improvise and share knowledge freely, are seen as chaotic, dangerous. We prefer innovative, Finn corrected. So, where is this world breaker being constructed? And how close is it to completion? The Admiral hesitated. If I tell you that, I lose my only bargaining chip. I need guarantees of asylum, not just for myself, but for my family still on the Halaxian homeworld. Finn leaned back in his chair. I can't make those guarantees personally, but I can take you to Earth, where you can present your case to people who can. If your information proves valuable and accurate, I believe they'll be receptive. And if they're not, then you're still better off than facing the High Inquisitor, aren't you? Zex Taral's scales rippled in what might have been a grim acknowledgement. A fair point, Very well. I will trust in human practicality, if not human honor. Excellent, Finn stood. We'll depart immediately. The sooner we... The ship lurched suddenly, throwing both of them against the wall. Alarms blared throughout the vessel. Captain to the bridge! Lee's voice came over the intercom. We're under attack! When Finn burst onto the bridge, the situation was already critical. The main view screen showed a Halaxian warship emerging from the nebula gases, its weapon ports glowing with charged energy. Report, he demanded, sliding into his command chair. Halaxian heavy cruiser, Lee replied tersely. They decloaked right on top of us and opened fire. Shields holding at 82%. How did they find us in this nebula? Unknown, but they knew exactly where to look. Finn turned to glare at Admiral Zex Taral, who had followed him to the bridge. Care to explain, Admiral? The High Inquisitor, Zex Taral said, his voice tight with what seemed like genuine fear. He must have placed a tracker on my shuttle, one that works despite the nebula interference. That's convenient. I swear by the sacred ancestors, I did not know. The Admiral's distress appeared genuine. Kresvor is known for his thoroughness. He must have anticipated my defection. Another blast rocked the ship. Shields at 74%, Walsh reported. They're using focused ion cannons, designed to penetrate the nebula interference. Return fire, Finn ordered. Targeting systems are struggling to lock on, Walsh replied. The nebula? Then don't use targeting systems. Fire where they are. Walsh looked uncertain but obeyed. The Audacity's main weapons discharged, sending bolts of energy into the nebula. Most dissipated harmlessly, but one struck the Halaxian vessel, causing a ripple of disruption along its shields. Lucky shot, Lee commented. No such thing as luck, Finn replied with a grin. Garcia, what's the status of our special modifications? Online but untested, the engineer replied from her station. You want to try them now? No time like the present. Garcia nodded and activated a sequence of commands. The lights on the bridge dimmed momentarily as power was redirected. What are you doing? Zex Taral asked, watching in confusion. Remember how I said humans are good at adapting alien technology? Finn replied. Well, we took the design principles from your shield systems and improved them. Improved? Halaxian shield technology? The Admiral sounded genuinely offended. Our shields are the culmination of thousands of years of development. And that's the problem, Garcia chimed in. You've been refining the same basic design for millennia. We looked at it with fresh eyes. On the view screen, a new kind of shield envelope began to form around the Audacity, not the smooth, uniform bubble of standard shields, but a shifting, adaptive pattern that seemed to pulse with the energy of the nebula itself. The Halaxian ship fired again. This time, instead of absorbing the impact, the new shields seemed to catch the energy and channel it around the hull, dispersing it harmlessly. Shields holding at 73%, Walsh reported with surprise. That should have taken us down another 10% at least. The recursive algorithm is working, Garcia exclaimed. It's learning from each hit, adapting the shield frequency in real time. Finn turned to Zex Taral with a smug expression. See, that's the difference between our approaches. You perfect one design over thousands of years. We try 100 different designs in a decade and see what works best. Barbaric, the Admiral muttered, though there was a note of grudging respect in his voice. Effective, Finn corrected. Walsh, target their propulsion system. Let's see if we can slow them down. The tactical officer fired again, this time with more success. The Halaxian ship's movement became noticeably sluggish. Direct hit to their port maneuvering thrusters, Walsh confirmed. They're listing to starboard. Good. Now let's... Captain, Richards interrupted from communications. We're being hailed. It's the High Inquisitor. Finn exchanged glances with Zex Taral, whose scales had paled to an almost white color, a sign of extreme fear among Halaxians. Put him through. The view screen changed to show a Halaxian unlike any Finn had seen before. Where most of the species had colorful scales and elaborate crests, the High Inquisitor's appearance was severely modified. Half his face was cybernetic, with glowing red optical implants replacing the natural eyes on that side. His scales were a uniform gray, and his crest had been completely removed, a shocking display in Halaxian culture, where the crest was a symbol of status and identity. Captain Reeves. The Inquisitor's voice was partially synthetic, creating an unsettling dual-tone effect. I see you've taken something that belongs to the Empire. Admiral Zex Taral came to us voluntarily, Finn replied evenly. He's requested asylum. The Admiral is Imperial property, Kresvor stated flatly. as is the information in his mind. Return him immediately, and the Emperor may show mercy to your crew. That's not going to happen. The Inquisitor's cybernetic eye focused on Zex Tarl. Admiral, you disappoint me. I expected cowardice, but not treachery. The true treachery is the Emperor's plan to break the Council treaties, Zex Tarl responded, finding his courage. The Worldbreaker project will lead our people to ruin. Ah. The Inquisitor's organic mouth formed what might have been a smile. So you've told them about that. How predictable. But did you tell them the rest, Admiral? About your own role in the project? Zex Tarl stiffened. I've told them everything relevant. I doubt that. The Inquisitor turned his attention back to Finn. Captain, your new friend was until recently the chief military advisor for the Worldbreaker program. The weapon systems were designed to his specifications. He's not defecting out of conscience, but because he failed to capture your technology and needs a scapegoat for his incompetence. Finn glanced at Zex Tarl, who avoided his gaze. Is that true, Admiral? It's complicated, Zex Tarl admitted. Yes, I was involved in the project's early stages, but I came to see the danger it represented. How convenient, the Inquisitor remarked. Your conscience awakened just as your career was ending. Enough, Finn cut in. Whatever the Admiral's motives, he's under our protection now. You want him? Come and get him. The Inquisitor's expression didn't change. A brave statement from someone whose ship is already damaged and cut off from reinforcements. We've survived worse odds. Perhaps. But can you survive this? The transmission cut off abruptly. A moment later, sensors detected a new threat. Multiple ships decloaking, Walsh shouted. 3, 5, 7 Halaxian vessels surrounding us! Finn's mind raced. They couldn't fight their way out of this. Not against 7 warships, even with their modified shields. Options, he demanded. We could surrender the Admiral, Lee suggested, though her tone made it clear she wasn't serious. The Nebula, Garcia offered. If we dive deeper into the denser regions, their sensors will be even more compromised than ours. They'll just follow us, Walsh pointed out. Not if we give them something else to chase, Finn said suddenly, an idea forming. He turned to Zex Tarl. Admiral, how does your shuttle's propulsion system work? The Admiral looked confused. Standard Halaxian quantum drive, with a miniaturized reactor core. And if that reactor core were to malfunction? Understanding dawned in the Admiral's eyes. It would create a cascade reaction, releasing enough energy to disrupt sensors and communications within a radius of approximately half a light minute. Like a smoke bomb. Finn nodded. Garcia, can you rig the Admiral's shuttle to do that without actually exploding? The engineer thought for a moment. I can set it to vent plasma in a controlled manner. It won't be as dramatic as a full core breach, but it should create enough interference to mask our escape. Do it, and prepare the phase inverter. Everyone on the bridge turned to stare at him. Captain, Garcia said carefully, the phase inverter is still recharging. If we try to use it now... I don't want to actually use it, Finn clarified. I just want to make it look like we're about to use it. Can you create a visible energy buildup without actually triggering the device? Garcia's expression shifted from concern to understanding. A false activation sequence? Yes, that's doable. Excellent. Here's the plan. High Inquisitor Kresvor watched with cold satisfaction as his fleet moved into position around the human vessel. The primitive ship had shown surprising resilience, but it was now thoroughly outmatched. Soon he would have both the treacherous Admiral and the human technology that had so intrigued the Emperor. They're powering weapons, his tactical officer reported. Shall we open fire? Not yet, Kresvor ordered. Disable them if possible. The Emperor wants their technology intact. Sir, we're detecting an unusual energy buildup on the human ship. It matches the signature reported by Admiral Zex Tarl after the Nova Colony incident. The Inquisitor leaned forward. The technology that made the planet disappear? It appears so, sir. All ships, prepare to... Before he could finish, a blinding flash erupted from the direction of the human vessel. Not from the ship itself, but from the Admiral's shuttle, which had been ejected moments before. The resulting plasma cloud expanded rapidly, washing over the Halaxian ships and temporarily blinding their sensors. Report, Kresvor demanded as the bridge systems flickered. Sensors inoperative, communications jamming in effect. We've lost contact with the fleet. Switch to visual observation. The view screen activated, showing nothing but swirling nebula gases and the expanding plasma cloud. Of the human ship there was no sign. Find them! The Inquisitor raged. They can't have gone far. Sir, before we lost sensor contact, the energy buildup on their ship was reaching critical levels. If they activated the same technology they used at Nova Colony. The implication hung in the air. If the humans had somehow disappeared again, they could be anywhere, or nowhere. Kresvor's organic eye narrowed. Clever, Captain Reeves. Very clever. In reality, the Audacity had done something much simpler than phase shifting out of existence. While the Halaxians were distracted by the plasma cloud and the false energy readings from the phase inverter, Finn had ordered the ship to cut all non-essential power, activate their newly modified shields in a configuration that absorbed rather than reflected energy, and drift silently into the densest part of the nebula. Now they floated, dark and nearly invisible, as the Halaxian ships scrambled to find them. Status? Finn whispered, though there was no logical reason to keep his voice down. All Halaxian vessels have moved off in different directions, Walsh reported quietly. They're conducting a standard search pattern, but they're looking in completely the wrong area. They think we phase shifted again, Lee added with a smile. They're scanning for temporal and dimensional anomalies, not a powered-down ship playing dead. Sometimes the oldest tricks are the best ones, Finn noted. He turned to Admiral Zex Taral, who was watching the proceedings with obvious fascination. Impressed yet? I admit to a certain admiration for the effectiveness of your methods, the Admiral conceded, though they lack elegance. Elegance is overrated. Results are what matter. How long can we remain like this? Zex Taral asked. On minimal life support? About 12 hours, Garcia answered. After that, we'll need to power up again or we'll start having problems with oxygen recycling. By then, the Halaxians should have given up and moved on, Finn said confidently, or at least expanded their search perimeter beyond our position. The Admiral's expression was doubtful. You don't know the High Inquisitor. He is persistent. So are we, Finn assured him. Now about this World Breaker project. I think it's time you told us everything, including your role in it. Zex Taral's scales shifted in discomfort, but he nodded. Yes, I suppose I owe you that much at least. For the next hour, as the Audacity drifted silently through the nebula, the Admiral detailed the Empire's plans. The World Breaker was not just a single ship, but a fleet of planet-killing vessels, designed to establish absolute Halaxian dominance in the sector. And yes, he had been deeply involved in its development, until the Nova Colony incident had shown him a glimpse of what humans were capable of. I realized then that the Emperor's path would lead only to destruction, he concluded. Either the younger species would be exterminated, or they would unite against us in ways we couldn't predict. Either outcome would be devastating for my people. So your defection is actually patriotic, Lee observed with a hint of skepticism. How convenient. Believe what you will, Commander, but the information I've provided is accurate. The first World Breaker vessel will be operational within 6 of your months. After that, the balance of power in this sector will shift irreversibly. Unless we stop it, Finn said. How? Your Earth fleet, while admirably resourceful, is no match for the combined might of the Halaxian Empire. Finn smiled. You'd be surprised what humans can accomplish when properly motivated. But first, we need to get out of this nebula alive. The waiting game continued for hours. Occasionally, they would detect a Halaxian ship passing nearby, but their powered-down state and the nebula's interference kept them hidden. Finn used the time to formulate a plan, not just for their escape, but for dealing with the World Breaker threat. Garcia, he said during hour 8 of their hiding, what if we combined our modified shields with elements of the phase technology from Nova Colony? The engineer frowned in thought. Theoretically? We might be able to create a localized phase shift effect. Not enough to move an entire planet, but maybe enough to, I don't know, phase a weapon through standard shields? Or phase a standard weapon through Halaxian shields, Finn suggested. Specifically, the shields of a certain planet-killing warship. That's actually not impossible, Garcia admitted, her excitement building. The Novans provided enough data on the phase technology for us to understand the basic principles. If we could adapt it to a torpedo delivery system. A phase torpedo, Finn nodded. Something that could bypass the most powerful shields and deliver its payload directly to the target. It would completely change space combat, Lee pointed out. Every existing defense system would be obsolete overnight. Which is why we'd keep it highly classified, Finn agreed. And use it exactly once, to destroy the World Breaker before it can be deployed. Admiral Zex Taral had been listening with increasing alarm. You would attack a Halaxian military installation? That would be an act of war. As opposed to the Empire-building planet killers? Finn countered. I'd call that a preemptive act of war against everyone. But, sir, Walsh interrupted. I'm detecting a change in the Halaxian search pattern. They're leaving? Finn moved to the tactical station. All of them? 5 ships have already exited the nebula. The remaining 2 appear to be on their way out as well. They're giving up? Lee asked, surprised. No, Zex Terrell said grimly. They're regrouping. The High Inquisitor is nothing if not methodical. He'll establish a perimeter around the nebula and wait for us to emerge. Then we won't emerge where they expect, Finn decided. Garcia, how soon can we safely power up? We've still got about 3 hours of life support at current levels. I wouldn't recommend pushing it further than that. Agreed. In 2 hours, we'll begin powering up systems, slowly, to avoid detection. Then we'll make our move. Which is? Lee prompted. Finn's expression was thoughtful. They're expecting us to try to run for Earth space, so instead we'll head deeper into Halaxian territory. That's insane, Zex Taral protested. You would be flying directly into the heart of the Empire. Exactly. It's the last thing they'll expect. Finn turned to Walsh. What's the nearest Halaxian system to our position? Helios Prime, major shipyard and military installation. About 6 light hours from here. Perfect. That's where we're going. The Admiral stared at him in disbelief. You're either the bravest or the most foolish human I've ever encountered. Why not both? Finn replied with a grin. Trust me, Admiral. If there's one thing humans excel at, it's doing the unexpected. 2 hours later, the Audacity began its careful power-up sequence. Systems came online gradually, in a specific order designed to minimize energy signatures that might be detected through the nebula. Propulsion at 30%, Garcia reported. Shields at minimal power, weapons on standby. Good, Finn nodded. Walsh, plot a course to the edge of the nebula nearest to Helios Prime. Keep us in the densest gas clouds as long as possible. Course plotted. Estimated time to nebula boundary, 47 minutes at current speed. Proceed. Nice and easy. The ship moved forward slowly, navigating the swirling gases like a submarine in murky waters. Every few minutes, they would pause to check for Halaxian signatures, then continue when the way was clear. We're approaching the boundary, Walsh announced eventually. No Halaxian vessels detected within immediate scanner range. They're out there, Finn said confidently. Just waiting. Admiral, if you were the High Inquisitor, where would you position your ships? Zex Tarl considered the question. He would focus coverage on the vectors leading to Earth space and to the nearest neutral systems. The last direction he would expect you to go is toward Helios Prime. But he'd still have at least one ship watching that vector, right? Almost certainly. The Inquisitor is nothing if not thorough. Finn nodded. So we need a distraction. Garcia, remember that modification you were working on for our emergency beacon? The engineer's eyes lit up. The one that mimics a ship's signature? It's not fully tested, but it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be convincing for a few minutes. I can have 3 beacons ready in 20 minutes. Make it 10, Finn ordered. We'll launch them in different directions once we reach the nebula boundary. 1 toward Earth space, 1 toward the nearest neutral system, and 1 on a random vector. With any luck, they'll draw off enough of the Halaxian ships for us to slip through. Lee looked skeptical. You think the Halaxians will fall for fake distress beacons? Not distress beacons, Garcia corrected. These will actually broadcast a simplified version of our own ship's signature. They'll read as the Audacity on Halaxian sensors, at least until they get close enough for detailed scans. By which time we'll be well on our way to Helios Prime, Finn concluded. Walsh, prepare 3 launcher tubes for the beacons. Lee, as soon as we launch, I want maximum power to engines. We'll only have a brief window to slip past whatever ship is guarding the Helios vector. As the crew rushed to implement his plan, Admiral Zex Taral studied Finn with newfound curiosity. You're actually serious about this? You're really going to fly straight into the heart of Halaxian space? Got a better idea? Several, all of which involve less chance of immediate death. Finn shrugged. Sometimes the best place to hide is right under your enemy's nose. Besides, I want to see this world breaker for myself. The Admiral's scales rippled in what might have been Halaxian laughter. You truly are mad. Comes with the job description, Finn replied cheerfully. Garcia, how are those beacons coming? Exactly 10 minutes later, the Audacity hovered at the edge of the nebula, poised to make its move. The modified beacons were loaded and ready to launch. Sensors detect 2 Halaxian warships patrolling this section of the boundary, Walsh reported. 1 directly ahead on the Helios vector, one approximately 30 degrees to port. Any sign they've detected us? Negative. The nebula is still masking our signature. Finn nodded. On my mark, launch all 3 beacons, then go to full power and head straight for the Helios vector. We need to be past that patrol ship before they realize what's happening. He took a deep breath, feeling the familiar pre-battle calm settling over him. This was the moment that separated good captains from great ones. The ability to commit fully to a risky plan. 3, 2, 1. Mark! The beacons shot out from the Audacity in 3 different directions, quickly disappearing into the nebula gases. Almost immediately, the ship's engines roared to life, propelling them forward at maximum speed. On the tactical display, they watched as the Halaxian patrol ships reacted. The first, guarding the Earth vector, immediately moved to intercept what it believed was the Audacity fleeing toward home. The second hesitated, registering multiple targets. They're confused, Lee noted with satisfaction. The second ship doesn't know which signal to pursue. It won't last long, Finn warned. Once they realize they're chasing decoys. Energy spike! Walsh shouted. The ship on the Helios vector is powering weapons. They've spotted us, Lee confirmed grimly. Evasive maneuvers, Finn ordered. Garcia, give me everything you've got from those engines. The Audacity lurched forward, its modifications allowing for speed that no Halaxian would have expected from such an ungainly vessel. The patrol ship fired, but the shot went wide as the human vessel juked unpredictably. Return fire, Finn commanded. Target their sensors and communications. The Audacity's weapons lashed out, striking the Halaxian ship with surprising precision. Its sensor array erupted in a shower of sparks and debris. Direct hit, Walsh reported. Their primary communications are down. Before they can signal the fleet, Finn noted with satisfaction. Now target their engines. I don't want them following us. Another volley of fire struck the Halaxian vessel, damaging its propulsion systems. It began to drift, still operational but unable to give chase. We're clear of the nebula, Lee announced. Setting course for Helios Prime, maximum speed. Well done, everyone, Finn said, allowing himself a moment of relief. That was the easy part. Now comes the tricky bit, sneaking into the most heavily defended system in the Halaxian Empire. You have a plan for that too, I presume? Zex Taral asked, sounding both impressed and concerned. Of course, Finn assured him, though you might not like it. The plan, as it turned out, was both brilliantly simple and incredibly risky. You want me to do what? The Admiral demanded when Finn explained it. Transmit your personal authorization codes, Finn repeated patiently. The ones that identify you as an Imperial Admiral conducting a classified mission. They'll know I've defected by now. Will they? Finn challenged. The High Inquisitor was hunting you in secret. If he's reported your defection, he also has to explain how he lost you, and a human ship, in the process. My guess is he's keeping this quiet until he can find us. The Admiral considered this. It's possible. The Inquisitor values his reputation highly. He would not want the Emperor to know of his failure. Exactly. So we use your codes to enter the system, claiming to be on a classified inspection of the shipyards. By the time anyone realizes something's wrong, we'll have seen what we came to see and be on our way out. And how exactly do we explain the human ship? Zex Taral asked pointedly. Finn grinned. That's the brilliant part. We don't hide it. We claim you've captured us and are bringing us in for interrogation about our technology. That's insane. No one will believe it. Why not? It's exactly what the Emperor wants. Human technology to study. If you show up with an actual human ship, they'll be so excited they won't ask too many questions. And once we're in the system? Lee asked, seeing the holes in the plan. The shipyard will have security protocols, inspection teams. We stall, Finn said simply. Request special handling procedures due to the dangerous and unpredictable nature of human technology. Insist on speaking only to the highest-ranking officials. Use all the bureaucratic tricks in the book to buy us time. Garcia spoke up from her station. Meanwhile, I can use our sensors to gather all the data we need on the World Breaker project. If it's being built at Helios Prime, we'll find it. This is madness, Zex Taral muttered, but his objection lacked conviction. Yet it might actually work. Halaxian bureaucracy is notoriously convoluted. I could potentially keep them confused for hours. That's the spirit, Finn clapped him on the shoulder, earning a startled look from the Admiral. We go in, we get the intelligence we need, and we get out before anyone realizes what's happening. And if something goes wrong? Lee asked. Then we do what we always do, Finn replied with a shrug. Improvise. To everyone's surprise, perhaps most of all Finn's, the plan worked perfectly. Admiral Zex Taral's authorization codes were accepted without question, and his story about capturing a human vessel for study was received with excitement rather than suspicion. The Audacity was directed to a high-security dock at the edge of the massive Helios Prime shipyard complex. I can't believe that actually worked, Lee murmured as they approached the assigned berth. Never underestimate the power of giving people exactly what they want to hear, Finn replied. The shipyard commander thinks he's about to present the Emperor with both a captured human vessel and its exotic technology. He's not going to look too closely at this gift horse. Thermal scans of the shipyard complete, Garcia reported from her station. And holy shit. Language engineer, Finn chided automatically, then looked at her display. Actually, holy shit is right. The scans showed something massive under construction in the heart of the shipyard, a vessel that dwarfed anything they'd seen before. It was roughly cylindrical, with a massive opening at one end that seemed designed to focus and direct energy on an unprecedented scale. That's it, Zex Tarl confirmed grimly. The first world breaker. Still under construction, but already nearly operational. The power readings are off the charts, Garcia noted, her voice hushed. That thing could destroy a planet with a single shot. And they're building more? Finn asked the Admiral. 5 more, at various shipyards throughout the Empire. We need to get this information back to Earth, Lee said. This changes everything, Finn nodded. Garcia, record every scrap of data you can. Walsh, keep an eye on shipyard security. How long before they expect us to dock? 20 minutes, sir. Good. That gives us time to— Captain! Richards interrupted from communications. We're being hailed by the shipyard commander. He's requesting permission to board as soon as we dock, with a full technical team. Finn glanced at Zex Taral. Can you stall them? The Admiral hesitated. I can try, but it would be unusual to refuse. An admiral bringing in a captured enemy vessel would normally want to showcase his prize. Then we need a new plan, Finn decided. We've got what we came for. Detailed scans of the world breaker. Now we need to get out of here. How? Lee asked. We're already committed to the docking procedure. If we suddenly change course, they'll know something's wrong. Finn thought for a moment, then smiled slowly. We give them exactly what they're expecting. A demonstration of unpredictable human technology. He turned to Garcia. How's our phase inverter? Any chance it's recharged enough for a partial activation? The engineer checked her readings. It's at about 40% capacity. Enough for a small-scale effect, but nothing like what we did at Nova Colony. Perfect. That's all we need. Here's the new plan. Shipyard Commander Drex Moral was having an excellent day. When Admiral Zex Taral had contacted him claiming to have captured a human vessel, one of those bizarre, cobbled-together ships that had been causing so much trouble lately, he'd immediately seen the opportunity for advancement. If he could help secure human technology for the Empire, his name would be mentioned in the same breath as the World Breaker project. He stood at the observation window overlooking Docking Bay 7, where the human ship was completing its approach. It was even uglier than the reports had suggested. A mismatched collection of parts that looked like it should fall apart at the slightest stress. How such a contraption could pose any threat to the Empire was beyond him. Sir, his aide reported, Admiral Zex Tarl requests that we maintain a safety perimeter of at least 100 meters from the human vessel. He says their technology is highly unstable. Nonsense, the commander replied dismissively. Our technical teams are the finest in the Empire. They can handle whatever primitive systems the humans have cobbled together. The Admiral was most insistent, sir. He mentioned something about dimensional instabilities. Dimensional, the commander scoffed. More likely he wants to ensure he gets full credit for the capture. Well, he can't keep this prize to himself. Contact the docking bay. As soon as that ship is secured, I want our teams on board. Yes, sir. As the aide moved to comply, the commander continued to watch the approaching vessel. It was now less than a kilometer from the docking bay, moving with surprising precision for such an ungainly craft. Then something strange happened. A device extended from the human ship's hull, a series of interlocking rings that began to spin and glow with an eerie blue light. What is that? He demanded. Get me Admiral Zex Taral immediately! Before his aide could respond, the blue glow intensified, enveloping the human ship in a pulsating field of energy. Alarms began to sound throughout the observation deck. Sir, we're detecting massive energy fluctuations, a sensor operator reported. The human vessel it's creating some kind of localized space-time distortion. Impossible, the commander snapped. No species has that technology. It's affecting our systems, sir. Docking bay controls are offline. Security protocols failing. The commander watched in horror as the human ship, now surrounded by the blue energy field, abruptly changed course. Instead of continuing toward the docking bay, it veered away, accelerating rapidly. Stop them, he ordered. Activate defense systems! We can't, sir. The distortion field is interfering with targeting computers. On the main view screen, they could see the human vessel speeding away from the shipyard, its bizarre energy field seemingly protecting it from the few defensive shots that managed to be fired. "Get me the High Inquisitor," the commander said grimly. Tell him the humans have escaped. And they've seen the World Breaker. Aboard the Audacity, the mood was one of cautious elation as they raced away from Helios Prime, the partial activation of the phase inverter having caused exactly the kind of confusion Finn had hoped for. "Remind me to buy whoever built this thing a drink," he remarked, patting the control panel for the phase inverter affectionately. "Best piece of salvage we ever found." "We're not out of danger yet," Lee cautioned. "They'll be scrambling pursuit ships as we speak." "True, but we've got a head start, and our modified shields should give us an edge if it comes to a fight." Finn turned to Garcia. "How's the data looking?" "Complete technical specifications of the World Breaker," she confirmed with satisfaction. "Power systems, weapons emplacements, structural weaknesses, everything we need to plan a counterstrike." "Excellent." Finn faced Admiral Zex Taral, who was watching the proceedings with a complex mix of emotions. "Well, Admiral, you've officially burned your bridges with the Empire now. How does it feel?" "Strange," the Halaxian admitted. "I've served the Emperor for over 200 years. To be suddenly labeled a traitor." "You chose the right side of history," Finn assured him. "The World Breaker project would have led to countless deaths, including, eventually, those of your own people. No empire built on planet-killing weapons can last." "Perhaps." The Admiral's scales shifted in what might have been resignation. "What happens now?" "Now we get this information back to Earth, and your people figure out what to do with it." Finn's expression grew serious. "Make no mistake, Admiral, this is going to change everything. The balance of power in this sector, the relationship between humans and Halaxians, even the structure of the Galactic Council itself." "And your phase technology? Will humans share that with the galaxy, or keep it to yourselves?" Finn considered the question. "That's above my pay grade, but knowing my species, we'll probably find some middle ground. Share enough to maintain peace, but keep the most advanced applications as a safeguard." "A sensible approach," Zex Taral conceded. "More sensible than I would have expected from humans given your reputation." "We're full of surprises," Finn replied with a grin. "Now let's plot a course back to Earth, and this time let's try to avoid any more Halaxian war fleets if possible. I've had enough excitement for one mission." 3 months later, Finn found himself once again in the Officers' Club at Starfleet headquarters, this time in the company of both Commander Lee and the newly appointed Special Diplomatic Advisor Zex Taral, formerly an admiral of the Halaxian Empire. "To successful negotiations," Finn proposed, raising his glass. The others joined in the toast. The past months had been a whirlwind of diplomatic activity, military preparations, and technological development. The revelation of the World Breaker project had shocked the Galactic Council into action, leading to unprecedented sanctions against the Halaxian Empire and a special defensive alliance between Earth and several other younger species. "I still can't believe the Emperor actually backed down," Lee remarked. "He had no choice," Zex Taral explained. "Once the Council threatened to authorize a preemptive strike against the shipyards, combined with the internal pressure from those who opposed the project from the beginning, it was either cancel the World Breaker or face total isolation." "And the phase technology?" Finn asked. "What's the official word?" "Earth has agreed to share basic defensive applications with Council races," Lee informed him. "The more advanced capabilities, like what we saw at Nova Colony, remain classified." "A wise compromise," Zex Taral nodded. "Though I must say, after spending these months among humans, I've developed a new appreciation for your unconventional approaches." "High praise from a former Imperial Admiral," Finn noted with a smile. "Indeed. In fact, I've been studying human history. Your species' development has been chaotic, unplanned, often messy. Yet you've achieved in centuries what took my people millennia. We're impatient," Finn shrugged. "We don't like waiting around for perfect solutions when good enough ones will do the job." "A philosophy that would horrify most Halaxians," Zex Taral observed. "Yet I find myself increasingly convinced of its merits." "Speaking of human solutions," Lee interjected, "have you heard the news about the Audacity?" "No," Finn replied, suddenly concerned. "What's happened to my ship?" "Nothing bad," she assured him. "Quite the opposite. Based on our encounter with the Halaxians and the data we gathered, Starfleet has authorized a new class of vessels, officially designated as adaptive multi-role cruisers, but already being called Audacity class by everyone in the fleet." Finn blinked in surprise. "They're building more ships like the Audacity?" "Not exactly like it. Lee clarified. The new designs are more standardized with proper engineering specifications. But they incorporate the same design philosophy, adaptable, unpredictable, able to integrate alien technology on the fly. And you, Captain, Zex Tarl added, are being offered command of the first production model. I believe they're calling it the UES Innovation. They want to give me a brand new ship? Finn asked incredulously. After all the regulations I've broken? Results matter, Lee reminded him, echoing his own words from months ago. And your results have been undeniable. Finn sat back, processing this unexpected turn of events. From commanding a ship held together with salvage and determination to leading the first of a new class of vessels, it was quite a promotion. I'll miss the Audacity, he admitted. For all her quirks, she's never let us down. She'll be retired with honors, Lee assured him, probably turned into a museum ship to inspire the next generation of captains. God help Starfleet if she does, Finn laughed. We'll have a fleet full of officers who think proper procedure is whatever works at the moment. Perhaps that's exactly what the galaxy needs, Zex Taral suggested thoughtfully. The older species, like mine, have become too rigid, too certain of our superiority. Your human adaptability, your willingness to try the unexpected, to combine technologies in ways their creators never imagined, that is your true strength. Finn raised his glass again. To human ingenuity, then. And to friends who can appreciate it, even when it breaks all the rules. As they drank to the toast, Finn found himself thinking about the innovation and the adventures that awaited. The galaxy was changing, with humanity taking a more prominent role than ever before. And if there was one thing humans had always excelled at, it was embracing change. You know, he said casually, I hear the Nova colony has been developing some interesting applications for that phase technology. Might be worth a visit once the innovation is commissioned. Lee groaned. We haven't even gotten your new ship out of space dock, and you're already planning to meddle with experimental alien tech? It's what we do best, Finn replied with an unapologetic grin. Besides, think how surprised the Halaxians would be if we showed up with some new improvement to their precious shield designs. The High Inquisitor would have an aneurysm, Zex Tarl noted, his scales rippling in amusement. Exactly, Finn said, his eyes twinkling with mischief. And if there's one thing humans love more than improvising new technology, it's the look on someone's face when they realize they've been outsmarted by a bunch of primitive apes in a ship that looks like a salvage heap. The three of them laughed together, human, and Halaxian united in appreciation of the absurd cosmic joke that was humanity's rise to galactic prominence. Against all odds, against all expectations, the species that couldn't even agree on standardized power outlets had somehow become a major player in interstellar politics. All because they refused to accept that some things were impossible. All because, when faced with a superior force, they didn't surrender. They innovated. All because, in the grand cosmic game where every other species played by rules established millennia ago, humans had the audacity to flip the board and invent a new game entirely. That's a human warship? The question that had once been asked in derision was now posed with a mixture of respect, fear, and bewilderment throughout the galaxy. And humanity's answer remained the same. An improvised solution, a cobbled-together technology, and a grin that said, just wait until you see what we come up with next. The end.